This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Mapper Forward's first on-demand workshop, How to Become a Coffee Consultant. Available now online for you to learn at your own pace with a certificate available upon completion. Click the link in the show notes to access today for just €50. Welcome to the Daily Coffee Pro by Mapper Forward, friends. I'm your host, Lee Safar, and this is our last episode with Ryan from Specialty Batch here in the United Arab Emirates. Ryan, today we are talking about the difference between specialty coffee cafe cultures and commercial coffee cafe cultures. I remember back to when I was working in cafes and hiring people, I would always look for the resumes that people had said that they had either worked at McDonald's or Starbucks or any of those commercial coffee places. Purely because they'd learnt about systems and they were kind of really brought into that mindset of the culture that exists in those cafes. Talk to me about what you think the difference between a specialty and a commercial cafe culture is like.
I think we first need to define specialty. I mean,
Nice.
Everyone has their own perception of
Nice.
specialty. and you know you're given a product that is meant to be specialty, and I think a lot of people misunderstand specialty to the point where essentially specialty coffee is a higher grade of coffee. Let's cut out all the fluff. That's what specialty coffee is all about. It's a higher grade of coffee where care and attention to detail is afforded to coffee through its entire lifespan. Right from where it's grown, the livelihood of the farmers, the way it's processed, the way it's stored, all the way to when it comes into your cup. Now, that's essentially what specialty coffee is. Everything else that comes with it is showmanship. Okay, everything else. So if you go to a cafe that says they've got specialty coffee, if the staff don't know the origin or if they don't know any specific details of their coffee, that doesn't mean they're not serving specialty coffee. It just means you don't get the specialty coffee experience, and that's what brings it all together. It's that experience. So I think the culture that exists between specialty coffee and specialty coffee shops and commercial coffee shops, I think the stakeholders in specialty coffee shops are limiting their own potential with the overall attitude, because there's a fine line between passion and arrogance, and I think people tend to forget where that line is. You don't want to be inconsiderate of the customer, because that's essentially where hospitality comes into play. So I think understanding that specialty coffee is a higher grade of coffee that showcases coffee in a better light. That's essentially what specialty coffee is. Everything else that comes along with it is based on how well you can present that package to the customer.
What is commercial coffee then?
So, I mean, commercial coffee, it's essentially what's happened in the industry since the late 80s. Where coffee is more of a caffeine kick, where most places would serve it with milk and 3 sugars, some caramel, some that sort of a thing. I think that's sort of what people's interpretation of coffee is all these years. Understanding that coffee on its own is a bitter experience. I think that's the mindset of most people, and shifting them from that experience into specialty coffee, it's a fun journey, and it's really nice to see them convert where they can't really go back to commercial coffee and enjoy it or appreciate it as much. But the disconnect happens with that interaction between the staff and the customer. I think that's where commercial coffee will always have a step up, is they don't have that elitism that goes along with the product that they're serving.
Have you seen those McDonald's ads, the McCafe ads, where they're really taking the piss out of specialty coffee? Have you happened to see these ads?
I've seen quite a few of those ads. Yeah, I mean, it is essentially, the industry is doing it to itself. And when I say the industry, I mean a few people who treat themselves as an elite product that most people should get, but they don't get, but they should really get it.
I really like the way that you explain that. I mean,
I think assumption, it's a thing where, you're serving a product, you don't tell the customer how to enjoy it.
Yeah.
You give them the information about the product, let them decide, what they like about it, what they don't like about it. If they show a certain level of interest, that's when you start to, give them access to, more information, try different coffees. I think that nurtures a better atmosphere for shifting customer perceptions of, what's coffee. Let's go from commercial coffee where bitter is the lasting component or lasting characteristic of my experience into something where, oh, wow, I can really actually taste those, those berries and those floral notes in the aftertaste. That experience is what will shift market perception. And I think the limitation is that customer service aspect. That's what needs to be fine-tuned. The product is there. Like, we've got great coffee. What's missing is the customer service aspect.
Do you think that the product is getting in the way of the customer service? Like, we talked about education, right? And we talked about how highly educated these people are and how much they're spending on that education. Do you think that that's getting in the way?
I think the people who, you've got your barista students who've graduated out of professional programs, I think they are getting in the way of it developing. Because, like I said, being able to teach and impart knowledge is one thing, but then growing the industry from a customer service point of view is another. I think having all this information, being able to calibrate, the hardest of coffees, the hardest of machines where, you've got all these variables that are working against you to create a perfect cup of coffee. The customer doesn't need to know all this. It's your skill. It's your profession. You don't need to say, oh, I've tweaked this flow rate to get this yield. The customer doesn't give a shit about that. Let's put it on the table. The barista is in control of actually developing the culture. The staff, the owner, everyone has a hand in this to say, okay, we've got all this knowledge, we've got all this skill, we can create a better product for the customer, but it's up to us to show them in a non-aggressive, non-arrogant way that this product is actually much better than what you've been drinking.
But then how can I charge $7 a cup if I'm not elitist? I'm saying that tongue in cheek, but I'm genuine. Like, we've got to explore that, right?
Yeah, sure. I mean, essentially, you've got cafes, you've got the coffee shops where they only have a certain category of coffees that they sell. Now, that's a completely different business model. Like, you are not going to have the daily revenue that a restaurant that also serves specialty coffee, but not this 95-point geisha. Maybe they feature an expensive coffee now and then, but if your main business model is based on a $7 cup as the minimum coffee, it's a limited market. It's a very limited market. So you will always attract a certain clientele that may not grow at the rate that you want it to. You have to have that balance. Yeah, you have to have some kind of balance. And I mean, it comes down to marketing, how you want to market that $7 or $10 cup of coffee. And after that, essentially what ties it all together is the customer service aspect. What sort of experience did you create for your customer? If you can justify that $7 cup of coffee, not just by the cup, but by that experience, and you're able to get that customer to come back and pay that again, then you've succeeded. I think just selling it one time is not a testament to your skill. It's being able to get that customer to come back.
I love it. And I think that's the perfect place to end the series, because at the end of the day, that's what culture is. When somebody wants to come back again and again and again, you have nailed the culture of a place.
100%.
Ryan, thank you for this conversation, and I really appreciate the I really appreciate you going out on a limb with the article that you wrote. It couldn't just be us that spoke about the stuff that we spoke about when we were here last. You being a voice for the industry from within the industry in the region was a very powerful and courageous thing to do. And I tip my hat to you, sir, because that's what leaders are made of. People who actually say, we need to have this conversation, so I'm going to start the conversation. So congratulations on stepping forward and starting that. And I'm here to support you however I can with driving that conversation forward. Before we do go, tell everyone where they can find Specialty Batch and Stomping Ground here in the UAE.
Okay, so we are located in Mina Rashid by the QE2. We have a roastery, our training facility, a little coffee bar, and a technical maintenance division for all of the machines and equipment that we sell. And our cafe is located in Jumeirah 1, in the neighborhood, Jumeirah 1. It's a cafe, restaurant. It's operating 7 days a week, 7:30 a.m. to midnight. And we've been operating since 2015, like I said, so
nice.
8 years now.
Yeah. And online, where can people find you?
So you can find us on specialtybatch.com and stompinggrounds.me. You can find us on Instagram as well. Follow us, tag us. We'd love to hear your experiences, your stories, positive, negative. We need to hear all of it. So yeah, I look forward to welcoming new faces.
And folks, if you're thinking of coming to World of Coffee Dubai next year, which I hope that people are starting to think about and starting to save for and et cetera, make sure that Stomping Grounds and Specialty Batch is one of the places that you come to.
Amazing.
Ryan, thank you so much. Will you do me the honor of signing off the episode with peace, love and peanut butter, please?
Yeah, I've been practicing this. Hang on. Peace, love and peanut butter.
Have an amazing rest of your day, folks. Bye, Ryan.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in, friends. There are 2 ways you can support this podcast. Firstly, become a paid member of our YouTube channel. Secondly, you can join our Patreon for as little as $3 a month. Don't forget to subscribe and like this video before you leave, and check the show notes for more information. Now, this is what you should check out next.